Okay, so my name is Virginia, and I'm going to teach this class, and this class is a little different than my other ones. This one is on mental health, mental illness, anything from PTSD to all the way to, schizophrenia, whatever anyone actually deals with. I know anxiety is the main thing. I think that is you're just born with anxiety. And if you're not born with it, you get it within the first 5 years. So I feel like we're all, but the thing is everyone here, and probably everyone who's watching me, unless there are some kids, is as adults, we have the ability to change our stories. We have the ability to now take the stuff and the stories and things that we think are true and change them. And that is why EFT tapping is such a beautiful thing for that. It is basically what it does is just rewire your brain. So I'm going to start a little bit of my story of when I was 19 years old. I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, bipolar 1, with rapid cycling, with mania as the main fun part of it. And I had been feeling kind of, things have been happening since I was about 15 years old. Didn't know what it was. I remember I ended up writing a bunch of bad checks this is when you could write bad checks. Oh my God, my age is showing. This is when you could write bad checks back in the day and they wouldn't check you. Basically what they do is take your check, and then if it wasn't cleared, they send you a letter in the mail. It would go to collections, whatever. Well, I went manic and I wrote all these bad checks and decided to write some of them in my own hometown. And my father was a judge, and he got the envelope, came in the mail for me, and he was like, "What is this?" And I said, "Oh, someone stole my checkbook," of course, because I'm like, I didn't do that. I didn't do that. So we went to the police station, and so he made me go to the police station. Him being a judge made me go. And one of the checks that we had was from a store in Hanford, and a girl recognized me from school and was like, "No, she's the one who wrote it," because she saw me. And so I had to go to jail for a couple of days. And before that, I had been going to mental health, I think about 6 months, and they were like, "You may be bipolar, you may be this and that, and this and that." And I went to jail, and I was there that night. The doctor checks me out, and I told him what happened. He's like, "Yeah, you're definitely bipolar." And they started me on meds in jail. I was there for a couple of days, got out, and at the time, over $200 checks were felonies, and they were both over $200 of checks. But in the court, they said, they used the bipolar as a thing where I got off on misdemeanors and had to do community service, and then I had to go to mental health. I had to go. It wasn't like my choice. I had to go to mental health for 3 years and do that. And I was like, "That's fine. Sign me up. I'm going anyways. I don't care." So I get out, and so I started going, and once I realized that, okay, I had bipolar disorder, I started to breathe again. I was like, okay, that makes sense. Maybe this is explaining why I am the way I am. So I started kind of figuring out what it was and stuff like that. But back then in 2000, mental illness was not cool. And it's not cool now, but it was just not okay. There was not that many resources. There was 2 or 3 meds that I could take and do. And, so I started to go on this journey. And everything that's going on is I started to realize that I couldn't do things because of my bipolar. I tried to work. I couldn't work. Every time I would go to work, I would end up in the hospital sick for my mental state. And eventually I was like, my mom was like, "Maybe you should try to get disability. You can't work." And this was, I think, about 2004. So I've been trying to work for about 3 or 4 years, without success or keeping a job. And so I got that. So they're like, "Okay, here's, this, so you can use this." I'm like, "Okay." And so it starts going on, and I start realizing I can do more things. I'm like, "Oh, okay, so I can't work." And I'm like, "Okay, I can't do this." And then as time went on, episodes and things that I would have would put me in situations. I have so many stories I don't even go into, but it started becoming my story. My story, it was like, "Hi, I'm Virginia. Nice to meet you. I'm bipolar." It would be in my first 3 things that I tell people. And as time went on, it started to get worse and worse. And I would hear all these stories. It's like, "You have bipolar, you're going to have it forever. And it's just going to get worse as you age." There's really nothing you can do about it. And when in about 2013, something happened, and I ended up, I had went to the hospital once in 2005, but the second time was in 2013, and I checked myself in myself because I felt like if I didn't go, I would have perished, I guess, in a way. So I went to the hospital. I was in there about 9 days. I got out, and I had this thing of like, okay, I'm going to tackle this. So let's just do this. You know, this is my sentence, but I'm going to tackle it. And I was with somebody at the time who basically demolished my whole person and left me. And he came back later. That's the story. So when that happened and he came back, I started to stay small. And I started to really believe that my bipolar was my sentence, and that's just who I am, and no one's gonna actually want to be with me if I'm well. So, if I get well, no one's gonna want to be my friend because they're gonna be like, oh, what happened to that bipolar person? And so it started leaking into my life, started leaking into my photography, started leaking into my stuff, and I kept worrying. I'm like, oh, it's gonna get worse when I'm older. I thought by the time I was 40, that I was gonna be, who I am right now, I am 40 right now, that I was gonna be in a home. I didn't have kids, was not gonna pass that down, did a bunch of stuff. That was more responsible for me too. I tied my tubes when I was like 26. But as time went on, I got smaller and smaller, but I got better. Because I was like, okay, I stopped drinking, I stopped doing these other things. I did dieting and stuff like that, but it didn't matter. Everything that I did, even though I was getting better with my symptoms, I wasn't getting as manic as I used to and stuff like that, things would still trigger it, and then I was right back to where I was. I'm in my room crying in a ball, trying to not, freak out. I'm having hide my credit cards. So I didn't touch, I think I couldn't touch them for 7 years. I couldn't even be near one because when I would go manic, one of my main things was let's spend money. Oh, it's gone. Okay, let's spend more money. Let's go find a credit card and spend more money, stuff like that. So I had to become so rigid with myself that I couldn't do anything. Then the Rona hits, and I'm like, okay, we're in the beginning stages of it or whatever, and I'm like, oh my God, we're stuck here and stuff like that. And I remember sitting there going, you have to be with yourself. And I was like, okay, and I was using the tools and stuff that I have to deal with this. And I remember at the end of the summer, I think this is when all the fires were going along too, and I was trying to keep my anxiety in check and stuff like that, and I just wasn't doing a good job. So I went off social media for about 2 months. Now I use it because I use it through my businesses for my photography and stuff. I can navigate it better now, but I did that. I started doing yoga. I started doing meditation to try to keep it. In about August, I think it was end of July, I got sick, and I started to be an episode, and I was an episode for 3 months. And at the end of, at the beginning of October, I remember going, oh my God, I can't live like this anymore. I have done everything in my power. I have done the therapy. I have done all the therapy. The group therapies. I have done, I changed my diets. I went keto. That's supposed to help, which it does help. She's my keto baker. And it's delicious. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, oh my God, I have literally done everything. I don't do drugs. I don't drink. I eat. I stay keto perfect. I'm doing everything that the mental health world says to do. And I am suffering. And I am in this episode. I cannot get out. I got to figure something out. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to relax and just not try for a little bit. And I was like, something's going to happen. And I want to say November 20th, 2020. We're going to say it because it's a cool number. I get online. I find this thing of this girl. And she is sparkly and glittery and just, I'm like, oh my God, what is this? I have to know. So I sit in bed. This is when I used to stay on my phone in bed, which is I don't do anymore because that does help you sleep. And I went through her profile for about an hour, and she has a lot of this positive stuff and pink stuff, but this one thing she kept talking about was EFT tapping. And I don't remember if I've ever heard about it before, but if I did, it never stuck. So I'm like, okay, what is this? So I looked through her profile. The next day I get up and I start going through a little bit. And I think it was the next day I decided, okay, what's this? I'm just gonna do one of her tapping videos. This looks really easy. It looks easy or whatever. So I decided to do it. And after that tapping, I got up, I cleaned my whole house. I made a YouTube video that was 3 months waiting to make. I had a channel where I was doing like mental health videos to help people, and I just can keep up with it. And I did this video, I cleaned all this stuff up, and I felt the best that I have ever felt. And I was like, okay, I gotta look what this is. So I started doing this. Now, after about a week in, I started getting irritable more often than not. And it was because I was moving the trauma through my body through tapping. And so here I am 2 years later, 2 years and like 2 months later, and I have tapped almost every day. And I've basically moved out my bipolar minus the chemical imbalance. That is something that I think is going to be there forever. I do take my meds, but I've been able to go down to a very low dose on all of my meds and still do it. And that's why I'm having this class, and hopefully we'll be able to teach more of classes like this, is because along with curing some of my back pain and stuff, it was able to cure and get, trauma is usually what makes mental illnesses come up. The main story I say is here's two twins. Both of them are pre-positioned to have schizophrenia. They both are raised in different environments. This one it manifests in, this one it doesn't manifest in. And they're both they're twins, both like whatever, but one of them doesn't. And there's an example with my family too. Almost everyone but my baby sister has mental illness, but the bipolar did not register in any of them the way that it did with me. Mine was a trauma from my mother. She's the one who triggered it. So I was like, I think about 2 months in, I was like, okay, I've done some back pain, I've done, my anxiety, trying to help sleep. And I'm like, let's try this on my mother. And the first time that I tapped with that, oh my God. I remember right afterwards, like I had to take a nap. Like my head was like, nope, we're not even staying awake anymore. We're going to bed. We're going to go to bed. And that's very normal with tapping. You will get tired. You will yawn. You will get irritated. You'll feel really, really good. All of it is your body responding to moving the trauma out. So my hope for this class is to teach you guys that mental illness, no matter how severe that it is, and mine was severe. I lived every day in fear of being in a manic episode. I ended up in LA, not really knowing how I got there. I ended up spending all of my money. I should be dead, at the end of the day. And I thought this was my sentence. And I thought, this is what I was told. For the rest of my life, you're just gonna suffer. You gotta take your meds, you gotta go to therapy, you're gonna talk about it, but you're never gonna fix it because it's just, and for over 20 years, I'm like, okay, that's my thing. But in 2020, I was like, I can't live like this. So for my hope for this class is to teach you guys a little bit about knowing that this is not a sentence. So what bring you to this class?
I'd say just trying to improve my mental health. There's days where it's like, not to be ironic, but it's like a rain cloud and I just can't get out of the funk. And it's just something that sticks with me. I'm like, man, I have all these things to be grateful for and happy about, but I just can't shake it.
Right?
And I know it, and my brain knows that,
That's me right now.
I should be happy, right?
Yeah.
Because I have all these things to be happy about. But, I don't want to get out of bed sometimes. I have all these things to do, and I should be happy to do them, but my brain's like, nope, we're just going to be a blank canvas, and you're going to think of all these things that are awful.
Yeah. All the past trauma. Why'd you come?
So I've known about tapping for almost 2 years.
Yeah.
I saw it in a documentary, and that was really interesting.
It is.
And then obviously I met you. And honestly, right now the biggest, like I know that I've had a really huge traumatic upbringing, and I've been kind of moving through that. And one of the biggest ones is like my suicide attempt at 17, and I have not processed any
through
of
that.
None whatsoever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and it keeps coming up. And I'm
Okay.
like, oh,
This
the
might be-
universe is telling me I gotta deal with this now.
Yeah,
There
like
is
it's-
no ifs, ands, or buts. Like now is the time you do it. So that's
You're
why
like-
I'm here.
And you feel like you probably, if you don't deal with this, you're not going to go anymore
Yeah.
forward.
So
Okay.
it's just time.
Okay, I know you're my boyfriend and you're here.
Mhm.
But like, if you had to say, like, if you were to come to a class like this, why would you come? Like, if you didn't have to be here. 'Cause
Just probably be mainly my social anxiety, just being around people and not knowing how to interact.
And I think a lot of the social anxiety too stems from trauma that we've had in our past or things that people have treated us. Like, for me, I was bullied 2nd grade all the way. I'm still bullied, but I mean, way less now because I don't let people in my circle and stuff like that. So, okay, perfect. So, do you feel stuck like this is a sentence for you? Like this is never going to end? Or do you feel like you can do this, but you don't know how?
I don't know how.
Okay, what about you?
So it is rewriting the story
Okay.
and letting go of whatever story I'm telling myself around that event and other events, right? So
Mhm.
that's why.
So basically, yes, and the biggest thing about tapping is it basically rewires your brain, and the main thing that it does is it gets rid of the old stories and makes new ones. It makes the pattern, like with you. So you're like, okay, I want to get up and do this, but my brain's like, no, and it focuses on that. And you don't have to tell me personal things. We can always do a single session if you want. But there's something, and I'm guessing that it's some kind of trauma that you had that makes you think this. And the biggest thing is I'm reading this book called Happy Days by Gabrielle Bernstein. I don't know how you say it. Is that her name? Gabrielle Bernstein, whatever. And this is her latest book, and she did so many books on like manifesting, all this stuff. And this one's like, she got to the real deal where it's like all of us think, even though we know on the surface that we're okay and that we have so many things to be grateful, we don't feel worthy. We don't feel worthy. We don't feel worthy of the attention. We don't feel worthy of the love. We don't feel worthy of, being happy. So if we were to actually be happy and grateful for our stuff, that means we're happy, and we can't be happy because we're not worthy of happiness. We're not worthy of living this. And we have been taught this through religion, through our parents, through our peers, through people on the goddamn street, people on the fucking internet saying whatever the fuck they want all the time. And we're just bombarded all the time with these things of we're not worthy. You know what I mean? And I feel like suicide too on at the end of the day is that we think that we're so unworthy that it would be easier if we were not even here. And, especially in childhood, you being 17, not even 18 yet. Well, they say, 18-year adult. I don't know if you're technically adult at 18. Legally, you can go buy a porno mag. Yeah, whatever. But our childhoods are a big part of what molds us into who we are. And a lot of us want to deal with, this will happen with this boyfriend, we got to deal with that. Or this happened with this, we got to deal with that. And so we start doing that. And it's a good thing to start with, because then your body gets used to being like, okay, we're removing trauma. That's what we're doing. But with me, I had to heal a core thing in my past. With him, he had to heal a very core thing in the past before he was even a teenager. And this stuff stemmed in something that was affecting him all the way to today. And, we removed different blocks and stuff like that, but until we moved that main block. And for you, it's your suicide. Now, I think you sound like you understood that there's the trauma of your past and your thing. And you're like, I understand that was trauma. But whatever it did, it got you so traumatized to the point that you almost thought that you shouldn't even be on this earth. Mm-hmm. And I think when stuff like that happens, coming to healing your past, it's going to be probably more of a whole thing of healing your childhood, because it sounds like it was a constant, it was just constant. It's a whole constant thing, you know. And with you, I feel like, how was your childhood, would you say? Now,
my mom, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, my mom and I have a fantastic relationship.
Mhm.
I refer to my dad as a sperm donor.
Mhm.
So he was present in my childhood, but not the way, in a sense, that I needed as a child, nor now as an adult.
Right. That makes sense. And I do have some books that I have for you guys if you want to read them, on stuff like this that's really helped with the boundaries and the past trauma. There's this one, it's called she's a holistic therapist or whatever. So she was a therapist for, I'm not going to quote it, maybe 20 years, something like that. And then it wasn't working. You know, she was doing this, because the thing about therapy is you go to therapy, you talk about it, and you're like, oh, great, I know what that is. What the fuck do I do with this? This is huge. Like, okay, I realized what it is. How do I unpack it? And that's where therapists end. Because they can show you like cognitive tools to deal with when it triggers you. It can be like, okay, take a deep breath, or, you know, count to 10, or write down your stuff and burn it, whatever. But none of that stuff moves it out of your body. The trauma of almost dying and coming back and then realizing later that you really probably didn't even want to do that. You just wanted the suffering to end. You know, and that's where suicide mostly is where it's like, it's not that you necessarily want to die, it's you want the suffering to end. And you know that if you do that, then it's done. It's over. It's you know, finite. Is that the word? No. You know, so that's what happens and stuff. And even in the social anxiety, especially in these days, you got to deal with people. As an adult, you got to leave your house, or you're never going to meet anyone. He was single for 9 years. Finally left the house and met me. I'm proud of him, you know? But I mean, he had so much anxiety, but he wouldn't leave the house, wouldn't date, you know? Just, it's like these people, and people judge you, and then you're afraid of them to do this stuff. So you're like, okay, I'm just not going to go. I'm just not going to go. You know, when you could go out and you could meet somebody who could change your whole life, you know? And I think in a whole too, all three of the things that you guys deal with, it may be like, to you, social anxiety may not be as big to him, but to him it's huge. It affects his whole life. Like for you, you can go out, talk to people, do whatever, but there are times you're sitting there and you're so overwhelmed that a decision that you made so young, and you haven't even unpacked why, even though you kind of know why, you know, and that overwhelms you. And then you don't want to leave the house because you're like, I can't even deal with this right now. I can't deal with anything else. And with you, it's like you have all these things in your life. You and your mom have a great relationship. You have all these things that are grateful for, whatever, but you just can't seem to feel good about it. And that makes you feel bad. That makes you feel even worse. It's like he tells me too, where I'll get upset, and then I'm upset that I'm upset. Then I get more upset. It's like this never ended. And then he's like, baby, you need to breathe them all. But I'm upset about being upset. Just cry. It just gets worse. And I think, you know, that's in your case, and I think that's what happens to you, is that you're like, there's no reason for me to feel bad, but you need to know how valid you are in feeling that way. You are not alone in that. You are not alone at all. Them two can tell you that. You are not alone in feeling like, why is everything so good? Why am I so sad? And the thing about it, have you tried tapping before? Have you? Oh, never mind, I made him do that. He's done it here and then with me a little bit. Before he met me, you know, he didn't do that either. So we're gonna do a little tapping together just to get you guys to show the thing. But the thing about the tapping is it basically uses the meridian points on your body, basically like acupuncture, no needles. And when you press these points and you say these things, it goes straight to your subconscious, kind of like hypnosis. It skips over the conscious mind, who thinks it knows everything, and gets to the part of you that is afraid. It gets to the part of you where the trauma is. It gets to where the root lies. And I will tell you this, sometimes you will have to tap on it. Pretty sure you're going to have to tap on it more than once. And the thing is, and it's because sometimes things aren't just one thing. There's facets of it. And that's what I've had to do. I have continuously had to tap for 2 years. I still have a long way to go, but living bipolar free pretty much, being able to get up in the morning, which is something I never been able to do, doing events, doing things, teaching this class, these were things I could have, like, my brain could not fathom doing in any way, like, at all. And here I am sitting here doing this, and it is, I just want to be that hope to say, like, it is not a sentence and you can get helped. And the coolest thing about tapping is you don't even have to believe a word that's coming out of your mouth. You can be like, I'm so great, and you can be like, fuck no, I'm not. You know, but that's not what matters. What matters is what's in, you know, what your subconscious hears. And the biggest thing, trauma lives in the body. That's why when you exercise, you feel better. That's why when you scream or you cry or you dance or you just shake your body, you feel better. And the tapping it's just a simple, easy thing. You can tap in your bathroom. You can tap in the car. Use one hand. I used to. All of it. So I think since you two have never tapped before, I'm going to just kind of explain. You kind of heard what it is or whatever, but kind of basically what you do is there's points. So this point right here is the first point. It's called a setup point. So basically you set up, you hit it. We call it the side of the hand. And it's like that fleshy part, and you hit it. And that's how you set up. And I'll do it. So you set up, you do that. And then there's, I can't remember how many points. So then after you do that, and then you're going to do it. I do it two-handed. Now, I have different things on here. Some people do it one-handed. But I learned through Gala Darling. And she is super bougie and likes to go out. The reason she says she likes to use both hands is because it does both sides. Now, I really like that. I'm really into the energy and the synchrony of that. So I like to use two hands. So whenever you tap with me, we're always going to use two hands. We're always going to do the two wrists together. Normally, the wrists are not a part of a normal one. Usually they start right here, they go through, and they end on the top of the head. We start on the top of the head and end with the wrists. So the first point is on the top of your head. It's right there, kind of on the crown. Like if you had bangs or whatever, they'd be right there. So you hit that. And then right above your eyebrows right here. So like, yeah, perfect. Right there. And then at the side of the eye, underneath the eye right here, like your cheekbone, underneath the nose. Now you can do it this way or this way, doesn't matter. She has nails, so I learned to do it this way. It's easier. Under the chin, same either way. And then there's the collarbone, it's right here, like pretty much collarbone. So you hit that. You can use all hands, you can use two fingers, whatever you want, it's comfortable. And then right in your armpit, if you're a woman, like where your bra strap would be, or if you're a man, like if you were to wear a bra, where your bra strap would be. And then your two wrists together. And so basically you just hit these points and while I talk. So when I say it, and then you just repeat after me. The main thing you say, and you do not have to believe this, it might make you uncomfortable. And you might yawn, your eyes might water, you might cry, you might sneeze, you might shake, you might feel vibrations or whatever. All of that is normal. And you could do none of that. It's all normal. There's no wrong way to tap. If you have a thing where you can't lift your hand above your head, that doesn't matter either. You just do the points that you can. If something's uncomfortable physically. So basically what I'm going to do is just a really simple one for you guys that based on anxiety. I'm going to tap on anxiety. We're going to tap on, not feeling worthy. And the worthy part right there, I think, is the core social anxiety, core of wanting to commit suicide and not being worthy of, not being worthy that even though I have all these good things, I'm still, here I am, so I would like everyone to inhale water, inhale it into your soul. She says if you gulp 10 times, that's like a cup of water, so. I said that at one of my other classes, and someone was like, but I would pee. I'm all, trust me, I pee constantly. Like, it's a constant. So, all right, so what I'm gonna do, I like to rub hands together. This is an energy place, so just rub your hands together, and we're just gonna get, all right, we're gonna start on the side of the hand. And just repeat after me. I have so much to be grateful for.
I have so much to be grateful for.
Yet I just can't seem to accept it.
Yet I just can't seem to accept it.
For some reason, I just can't seem to be happy about it.
For some reason, I just can't seem to be happy about it.
I mean, I do have my problems,
I do have my problems.
but it seems like other people have it worse.
It seems like other people have it worse.
So why should I be able to feel this bad?
So why should I be able to feel this bad?
Why should I have to feel like I can't do these things?
Why should I feel like I can't do these things?
And even though I feel this way,
And even though I feel this way,
I deeply and completely
I deeply and completely
love and accept and forgive myself.
love and accept and forgive myself.
I think at the end of the day,
I think at the end of the day,
I just don't think I'm worthy.
I just don't think I'm worthy.
Even though I have all this wonderful stuff in my life,
Even though I have all this wonderful stuff in my life,
I just can't seem to reach it
I just can't seem to reach it
with the way that I want to feel about it.
with the way I want to feel about it.
And that makes me feel even more bad.
And that makes me feel even more bad.
That makes me feel even more unworthy.
It makes me feel even more unworthy.
Because who am I to complain?
Because who am I to complain?
Who am I to feel like my life is bad?
Who am I to feel like my life is bad?
And even though I feel this way,
And even though I feel this way,
I deeply and completely
I deeply and completely
love and accept and forgive myself.
love and accept and forgive myself.
Rub your hands together, take a little more water. Is it messing up?
Mine's only recording 10 minutes at a time, so I have to keep going.
Is mine doing that?
No, yours is just recording.
Androids. It's okay, I can always make it. No worries. Alright, so now what we're gonna do is basically the setup. Tells us you're gonna focus on how you feel. It's basically the setups are always focusing how you feel, setting up why you're doing your stuff, and then we tap it out. So just repeat after me. We start at the top of the head, like this. I just don't understand why I have to feel this way.
I just don't understand why I have to feel this way.
I've done things to heal myself.
I've done things to heal myself.
I've accepted parts about me,
I've accepted parts about me,
but I just can't seem to get to that place
but I just can't seem to get to that place
where I really want to be.
where I really want to be.
And I am sick of feeling like this.
I am sick of feeling like this.
I'm sick of not being able to be where I want to be.
I'm sick of being where I want to be.
So today,
So today,
I'm choosing just a little bit
choosing just a little bit
to let go of the shame,
to let go of the shame,
to let go of the feeling of unworthiness
to let go of the feeling of unworthiness
about how I feel about myself.
about how I feel about myself.
I release the need to hold on to my past trauma.
I release the need to hold on to my past trauma.
Now I know I'm very valid
And I know I'm very valid
to feeling all the things I feel about my trauma.
to feeling all the things I feel about my trauma.
Everyone has trauma,
Everyone has trauma,
and I am totally valid.
And I'm totally valid.
But I am choosing to let go
But I'm choosing to let go
of everything that I can right now.
of everything that I can right now.
I'm letting go of the unworthiness I feel.
I'm letting go of the unworthiness I feel.
I'm letting go of the shame I have.
I'm
Letting go of the shame I have.
around events that I did what I could,
Around events that I did what I could,
what I knew at the time, with what I knew at the time.
with what I knew at the time.
But now I know.
But now I know.
I no longer have to suffer like that.
I no longer have to suffer like that.
Yes, it might take time and time,
Yes, it might take time and time,
but I made that first step
but I made that first step
by coming here today,
by coming here today.
because I am sick of living the way I am right now.
So I am sick of living the way that I am right now.
I'm so done,
I'm so done,
and I am choosing,
and I am choosing,
even if it's only a little bit,
even if it's only a little bit,
to deeply and completely
to deeply and completely
love and accept and forgive myself,
love and
Love.
accept and forgive myself.
because I'm 100% worthy,
Because I'm 100% worthy,
and so it
and
is.
so it is.
Take a deep breath in, hold it at the top, and let it go. Now you might even feel nauseous. You might feel like super tingly in your brain.
Your body.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
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 It feels like it's vibrating.
Yeah.
And that the reason is that you guys were ready to come here. Now that is a very, very generalized one. So I forgot to ask you. So if you had to put a number on how you felt before you tapped, out of a 1 to 10, what would you say you were?
I would say like a 5.
How do you feel now?
I think, I was, before I tapped, probably.
Keep forgetting to do it.
Yeah, like 7. I can tell you that right now I'm like at a 9. My body feels very tingly.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
What about you?
I was already at like an 8 before we got here.
Well, he's literally, I'm tapping every day. I'm tapping with, like, he's immersed in it, Yeah, so that
We get to live with you, so.
yeah, he gets to live with me.
Already in a good
That's true. So good. So that's good because, like, for me, I'm gonna say when I came here, I think I was at a 6, and now I'm at a 9. Because personally, I want to say maybe I think a week ago, I had another thing where I was like, I can't live like this anymore. I did this 2 years ago in this room. I'm like, what I'm doing is not working, and I have to fix it. And I have been feeling, and I think it's when I opened the book by Gabby, and I was reading this thing, and they were talking about how there's 2 different types of traumas. There's capital T and little t. Capital T's are rape and, disasters and all this stuff. And then there's the ones where you're bullied, your parents don't pay attention to the stuff like that. And I realized that almost 40 years of my life I had the small T's. I have never been safe in my entire life until I met him. And we all live our lives, and if we don't feel safe, you feel like you can't grow, you feel like you can't do stuff. And for me, believing in myself and believing I can do these classes and doing this stuff has been a real challenge for me. And the biggest thing that I've realized is that I don't feel worthy. I don't feel worthy of having the things I'm grateful for, so I can't be happy that I have them. And so my main focus lately been around doing tappings and doing stuff like that, has been about that, of healing that thing. And I think with your suicide thing, and if you want to do like an individual one, we can do it where we just get real deep. You can tell me exactly, and I can say it out of my mouth, and you can repeat after me. Is the worthiness of you feeling worthy to yourself? Because I'm sure as much as your mother made you feel worthy, your father was also a part of that as you were a child. Same thing with you. I don't remember, you've told me some stuff, but whatever, but it's like whatever you felt as a child, we were made to listen to our parents. We were made biologically to do that. And, we don't know any better. Like 5-year-olds, well, people will do stuff and we're like, why are you doing that? That makes no sense, you know? And so it's like, you know, when we're older, we're able to heal that trauma. And we all have these things. It could be something super big, like what happened to you, because I've had suicide stuff too. Or it could be something where you're like, I am happy most of the time. I am this, but I have this pit in me that I just can't seem to get. And I did a Reiki session with my friend yesterday, and we actually found my deep thing, and we pulled it out. So now my tree, you know, I suggest other things. This is, you know, to help, which is, you know, I use and stuff. But like our core thing is that we think we're not worthy. And that's something that even with tapping, starting on the beginning might be hard. So what I do is, let's say I do a tapping, even on my back pain, I always end right before, I'll be right here, and I always tell myself, right before I say so it is I tell myself, I'm 100% worthy. Now I could be talking about something that has nothing to do with being worthy. It could be, oh, you know, I'm gonna go do this class today or whatever. I mean, I'm worthy, but I always end it like that. So if you guys end up doing anything on your own, basically what I do is I freestyle it. And sometimes what you can do too is write things down. So let's say you're writing like a journal entry or morning pages or whatever. Whatever you write down, go through, reread it, and just tap on the points while you do that. Because the coolest thing about the tapping is that's what will move it through your body. That's what will hear it. And that's why some people will do morning pages, which is the 3-page or whatever, and they'll go through after that and tap through what they wrote down. And I've done that too. Because sometimes you're sitting there and you're tapping and you don't know what to say or whatever, but when you're writing, you write it all out and you're like, okay. And then when you're tapping, it's already written in front of you, which is why some people do tapping scripts. They write it down and you do that. So there's a tons of different stuff. But basically, you know, EFT tapping was made for veterans with PTSD. So it's like, you know, it started out as something of a mental illness. Now, PTSD is the definition of trauma making your brain do stuff. So when it comes to clearing out emotional trauma, childhood trauma, suicide trauma, people being bullying, all the way down to, you know, you just, you know, not feeling like you're doing your stuff. EFT is one of the main tools that could help you, especially if you're a big therapist person, you like to go and talk about your stuff or whatever. You're going to figure out what you're doing, but now you'll have a tool to remove that. So that, because when you talk about it, the universe can't tell if you're talking about the past or the present. And you know that. They don't know. So what you say and what you put out. So if you're going to therapy and you're talking about the same thing for 5 years, you're still going to have it because the universe is like, oh, that's what it is now. Just like, I don't want to be broke. I love money. Ooh, money. Okay. You know, I mean, that's going a little more into law of attraction, but the core of this class is that I wanted to teach was that it could be for anything. It could be as deep as that, or it could be as deep as how bad your day was yesterday, or how much you felt this person did this to you, and how much you can just be like, you know, even though I feel this way, you know, I deeply and completely. And if you don't like saying forgive, you can say it deeply and completely accept myself. The forgive part in there I like is because, you know, we have to forgive ourselves eventually for things because we had no other, didn't know any better, especially when we're kids. Like, we didn't know any better, you know, things that happen to us, especially when we're children, and we think, you know, when we're adults, we're like, oh, we should feel bad and shame about that. I'm like, I'm a big thing about when you're a kid, you should not feel ashamed about anything you did because, like, you had no any better. You would look to adults or people who are older than you to teach you what you were doing, and, you know, you're still in a learning phase of trying to figure out what the earth is and what the world is and what you got to do. And, you know, if your parents are, you know, fucked, then you're like, okay, got to figure it out by myself. you know, I don't want to do what they're doing, so I'm going to go over here, but I'm still a child learning from this person, you know, and that's why, you know, as adults, having a lot of adults are like, I don't want to have the responsibility. I'm like, do you know how awesome it is to have the responsibility and be able to actually heal and get rid of all that shit that's not even relevant anymore? They're all old stories. You know, sometimes I'd be like, you know, like, oh, something. And another thing I do is I tap right here. Like, let's say you're having some anxiety about something, and be like, you can just tap right here. This is like a real good point, and you just tap right here. You can say that. You don't even have to do any of the other parts. I'll walk around my house, you'll see me sometimes, and I'd be like, something's to me, and I'd be like, you know, even though it's okay, you know, I am still worthy of who I am. I'm still worthy of doing what I'm doing. And, you know, I deeply and completely love and accept myself, and I forgive myself, even though, you know, I feel like I shouldn't be feeling this way. I forgive myself because I know that I can give myself grace, whatever. You just can talk. And this is the main one to do. You can use one hand. You gotta use two. You know what I mean? Basically, you can use this technique to clear the small all the way to the big, and clear it out for good. And it's really awesome. So, do you guys have any questions that you would like to ask me about anything? Really?
What to expect after?
Okay, so depending on what you're healing, you can either feel very energized or you can feel very tired. If you get really, really tired, if you're able to take a nap, take a nap. If you're able to go to bed early, go to bed early. Usually what happens, especially if you do something that's a real doozy, usually the next day when you wake up, you're feeling a lot better too. So don't be afraid to get irritable. Don't get afraid to get real happy. If you do ride the happiness into whatever, the freedom of the feeling, your body, if you yawn a lot, I yawn so much. Like my eyes are constantly watering because I'm yawning, because it's moving energy through your body. So basically, you know, your body will react here and there. You could get really cranky. I remember that one time when I did that one doozy in the beginning, and I had to go right to sleep. I was like, I can't even stay awake right now. And I made myself take a nap or whatever, you know. Just the biggest thing I think is just to be gentle with yourself and give yourself grace. Not everything will leave right away, but if you're consistent with it and stuff like that, you know, it changes, you know, because we carry all this stuff around. We don't know where to put it. We don't know how to put it down. And I think EFT tapping is exactly what it is those memes that you see. It's like, you know, it's okay, you can put down your suitcases, but we're like, how? It's attached to us. Like, what? It's like attached to my skin. Like, how do I get this off me? And I feel like EFT is the way of just having it just dissolve off of you, instead of you ripping your skin off because of whatever, you know, it's able to dissolve it, and it gets less and less heavy. And then you can get in and start, you know, after surface stuff, you can start getting deeper, or you can start super deep, and then, you know, start, because what I have to do now with my thing being done is now I have to clear out this tree. I gotta get the branches out. I gotta, you know what I mean? I got that root, but I'm gonna have to start, you know, because these branches will trigger me. So I'm gonna have to start doing that. I'm gonna have to start going through and clearing out the branches and killing the stuff. But I know that I can because I have this stuff. And if you guys want to, since you came into my class, you know, we can do some individual stuff. But you know, just the main thing is just give yourself a lot of grace. Prepare to be tired, and also prepare to be super energized, and do like 18 things in one day and be like, yes, I got it all done. You know what I mean? And just expect to slowly feel. And when you feel that part where you're like, that unworthy part, sometimes when I get the overwhelming kind of like with you, like let's say you're in bed and you're laying there and you're like, I just can't get up. Just lay there and just hit this and just be like, you know what? I get it. I don't want to get up. I don't feel like if I get up, anything's going to happen or whatever. But you know what? I'm going to get up and I'm going to go make some cereal. I don't know what you do. Stuff like that. I start with something small. Like for me right now, I'm doing very small steps throughout the day. I'm changing things very smallly. And even if it's like a step or whatever, and that's just really my advice. And using this one to just, just little things when you go out through the day, or someone pissed you off when you're driving, just be like, I'm giving myself grace. And, you know, just know that, you know, it's not about you. Other people, what your dad did, what your mom did, whatever, it wasn't about you. They did what they could with what they have, and doesn't mean you have to condone it in any way, but you can let it go, and so you can be at peace. And you can be at peace, and that's, you know, and that's really what it is. It just give yourself grace, take care of yourself, drink a shit ton of water. I mean, hydrate yourself, because you're moving your energy, and being hydrated, you know, it moves the toxins out of the body because you are moving stuff. So you will have toxins. So you drink a lot of water. I don't know how much water you drink, but you should probably up it up. I know you drink a lot of water. So that's pretty much, you know, what it is. If you guys don't have any question or anything, we're good. Okay, you can press those now. After I have like a, that's weird that yours didn't do that, but it would do the whole.